Hello and welcome back to St. Thomas Aquinas for Everyone. I'm Dave Palmer, and this is the fourth of 5 videos that we're going to do on the angels. Just as a little bit of review, we talked about the angelic nature, we talked about whether they're in a place and whether they can move about, and if so, how can they do that? And also in the last one, we talked about knowledge. How do they come to know things, and how is that different than the way we come to know things, or a dog or a grasshopper comes to know things. And so today we're going to continue on with this fourth video on the angels, and we're going to start talking about will and love. And just as a little side note, when we talk about knowledge, that relates to the virtue of faith. When we talk about will and love, this has to do with hope and charity. So you can see how things all kind of tie together in our life as well. And again, this is about the angels, but I'm going to tie it in a lot to our own lives, because really, since we can't see the angels, we have to use ourselves as some point of comparison. All right, so to understand will, you have to know that the will is an intellectual appetite. All right, now when I say appetite, you probably think of a lot of things. Here's one example. When you see this pizza, most of us, if you like pizza, you are attracted to it. Okay, that is because it's good and you want it. Okay, that's a sensitive appetite. I showed an example in a previous video about the ants that are attracted to a watermelon. Okay, they like it because there's some aspect of goodness about it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be attracted to it, right? Just like the pizza has some goodness to it. And so this is an attraction to a good. Now, what does this have to do with the angels? Well, you'll see how it all ties together here very shortly. And then there are other things that are not sensitive appetites, like the desire to graduate, or the desire to have a friend, or the desire to get a new job. Okay, that's more of an intellectual appetite, and that has to do with the will. It's something that's good that we want. And then the old classic example that we see most days, especially if you live in a big city, is traffic. Everybody is exercising their will because otherwise they wouldn't be out in their car going somewhere. They'd be at home, lying on their, sofa. They have a desire to do something, otherwise they wouldn't be in their car. So everybody out there is exercising their will. So Thomas says, we must necessarily place a will in the angels, and evidence thereof, it must be borne in mind that since all things flow from the divine will, all things in their own way are inclined by appetite towards good. All right, but in different ways. Now here he's going to talk about the different levels of creatures, and it's really interesting because this helps us understand as we move up towards God, understanding God. It's kind of like a gradation, right? Some are inclined to good by their natural inclination without knowledge, as plants and inanimate objects. Okay, so a plant wants water and wants light and it wants things in a sense, but it has no knowledge of it. It doesn't have any sensitive appetite, right? But it still has a certain dilection, I guess you could say, or a certain inclination, right? Such inclination towards good is called natural appetite. So a plant would have a natural appetite. Others again are inclined towards good, but with some knowledge, not that they know the aspect of goodness, but that they apprehend some particular good. Okay, here are our friends the ants. Okay, they apprehend some good, and more so than the plant does, but they still don't quite understand what it is. They know the sweet, the white, and so on. Okay, these ants know that there's something sweet about that watermelon. The inclination which follows this apprehension is called a sensitive appetite, and that would apply to our pizza as well. We have sensitive appetites, just like the ants and the dogs and the aardvarks do. All right, that's why we're similar to those animals in many ways. All right, so then Thomas goes on to say other things again have an inclination towards good, but with a knowledge whereby they perceive the aspect of goodness. This belongs to the intellect. This is most perfectly inclined towards what is good, not indeed as if it were merely guided by another towards some particular good only, like things devoid of knowledge. Now you should be thinking of teleology. You should be thinking about the fifth proof of the existence of God here. Nor serve some particular good only as things which have only sensitive knowledge, like the ants and the dogs and the aardvarks, right? But as inclined towards good in general, such inclination is termed will. And again, I'll show you this classic example of the cars and traffic. Okay, these people are not just blindly going somewhere. They're not just being directed like robots, okay? They are exercising their will. And that's the difference between us and the plants and the dogs and the cats and the porcupines, right? Accordingly, since the angels by their intellect know the universal aspect of goodness, it is manifest that there is a will in them. All right, isn't that interesting? All right, so now Thomas says, well, okay, they have a will. Is there a natural love or dilection in the angels? And so he says, it is common to every nature to have some inclination, which he's already proved. Okay, everything is inclined to something. And this is natural appetite or love. This inclination is found to exist differently in different natures. This is review, but in each according to its mode. Consequently, in the intellectual nature, there is to be found a natural inclination coming from the will, intellectual appetite, right? In the sensitive nature, according to the sensitive appetite, and in a nature devoid of knowledge, only according to the tendency of the nature to something. All right, therefore, since an angel is an intellectual nature, there must be a natural love in his will. Okay, anything that has intellect has will. We learn that about God, right? God has will because he has intellect. God is his intellect. All right, so here's a lady, and the way that she sees this would be her will. She's exercising her will. She desires to graduate. It's different than the way she desires this cheeseburger here, okay? Not proportionate to size, okay? That'd be a big cheeseburger. But she desires the cheeseburger with her sensitive appetite, concupiscible appetite is what they call it. She desires to graduate with her intellectual appetite or her will. All right, so why does this all matter? Because remember, one of the attributes of God is that he is good. In fact, that was the second attribute of God, right after that he is simple. So all these things like hamburgers and laying on a hammock and the thrill of skydiving or banana splits or the love of a man or woman for the opposite sex, this is all leading us towards God. Okay, I know this is review, but you got to kind of tie it all together. Okay, one other thing we're going to do that is related to the angels is whether an angel obtained beatitude immediately after one act of merit. This is the way we differ from the angels, and we already talked about it in the last video, but angels are judged just like we are, but whereas we get 30, 40, 60, 80, 100 years to kind of work it out, and then we're judged, the angels are judged immediately. And why is that? The angel was beatified instantly after the first act of charity, whereby he merited beatitude. The reason whereof is because grace perfects nature according to the manner of the nature. Okay, our nature is not the same as the angelic nature, as every perfection is received in the subject capable of perfection according to its mode. Now it is proper to the angelic nature to receive its natural perfection not by passing from one stage to another, but to have it all at once naturally. Now we already talked about this, right? But as the angel is of his nature inclined to natural perfection, so is he by merit inclined to glory. Hence instantly, after merit, the angel secured beatitude. Remember, the angels have innate species. The angels naturally know all the things that we have to come to know. Here's a dog, okay? We have to experience a dog. We have to sense a dog. We have to see it for the first time, and then we can say, oh, that's a dog, right? So that's the way this lady would know it. The angel is very different. The angel is created already knowing about the dog, already knowing about Jesus. And then at the instant it's created, God basically says, okay, make a decision for or against God. The angels make that decision instantly, and they either are damned or they are saved, right? And that's it. And so with us, it's a process because we are different. We have souls, we have bodies, we come to know things, we have discursive knowledge, right? All right, so that is it. Video number 4 on the angels. I hope you enjoyed that. I know some of it's kind of deep and I talk fast, but that's why you can always go back and watch it again. Make sure you comment, like, let me know what you're thinking. Is this making sense to you? I'd love to get some feedback if you feel so inclined, okay? This is St. Thomas Aquinas for everyone. I'm Dave Palmer, and thank you very much for watching. God bless you.